Oh, hello, hello. It is so good to have you back here, and I am unbelievably excited about my next guest. He is absolutely amazing. He is the CEO of KMM. And listen,
So they're doing
can you
a
just tell
segment
me
that's
what
like
you're passionate about? Introduce yourself to the people. I don't want to steal your thunder. And then we'll just hone in on whatever is important to you. We'll talk about that first.
Well, sure. My name is John Shegda. I'm the CEO, as Lisa said, of KMM Group. And what's important to me, goodness,
Yes.
manufacturing overall, just
Ooh.
the importance of the industry itself,
Yep.
the longevity of the industry, the importance of the country,
Mm.
but also like
where you got to answer
our
questions
our
about
company
what that looks like
focuses very heavily on culture.
So we're doing
Yes.
that
And
then
growing the company, creating something that is a sustainable entity going into the future, not only for, again, for the industry and serving certain sectors of the industry, because we're kind of boutique, we're not trying to do all things for all people, but also for our employees. You know, a lot of people have invested a lot of time and energy into this business.
Yeah.
It's the only job I've ever had was
Yeah.
running the
Wow.
company that I'm
Wow.
captaining now.
Yes.
And
Have your attention, please.
and
Good
I would
morning
like it
and
to
welcome
go
to
on for
Anaheim.
generations beyond me.
Yeah.
MD&M West is
I'm
now
super excited to
officially
ask
open.
you about your
Thanks so much for
opinions
coming
about
and have a
people
great
and
day.
culture because I know that
Welcome to MD&M
overall
West
it is a challenge
2025.
for CEOs to meet people where they are, especially because you have a multi-generational team. What challenges have you seen with that and how have you been able to overcome them?
Yeah, when Amy and I, our director of marketing, were talking about doing this, the word that was coming to my mind was a rebirth, right? You know that when you're leading a company that started in 1957, not that
Yes.
I started it, but I've been leading the company since the early 90s.
Yeah.
You have to go through evolutions and reformations and rebirths as society changes, as generations change, as the industry changes.
Yeah.
The new generations, like when I'm the first year of Gen X, so and I find it really interesting how the generational, like the descriptions of generations, the baby boomers versus Gen X versus millennials, and whatnot. They're actually quite accurate.
Yeah.
And when you see the Gen Xers, which is, now getting to be older guys like me, but millennials that were really, they were not in favor for a lot of folks in manufacturing. I've always been a fan of the millennials. I think you just have to put them in the right position,
Yes.
and give them the right inspiration, tools, the why of what they're doing.
Yes.
It's really, really important, the purpose and why behind it.
Yes.
Gen Z is very similar, but a little, little nuanced differences with them. I think that to me is probably the most important aspect of my job is going deeper, understanding the people that you have in an organization, regardless of age or generation, and putting them in the best position for them to be successful for them and for the company, right?
Well, I want to stop you right there. I don't want to speed past that because there is something to be said about being a fan of the millennial movement and trying to really cultivate your staff to bring out the best skills for the positions that you have available and finding a niche where they fit and being intentional about putting them in those places. So I want to talk about how you knew that that was essential to the growth of your business, because I think there are a lot of times when you have one or the other. They want to be all millennial, right, or they want to be all Gen Xers, and there's no meeting in the middle. How did you know how to put that recipe together so that you had the right formula to grow your team?
You said a word in there that my brain just kind of stuck on, and it was intentional.
Yeah.
Having intention about how you set something up like that or a culture of the company is extremely, extremely important. You have to be intentional. If you're not intentional, you're going to have a culture regardless of whether you're intentional about it or not. So you might as well be intentional and have it the way you want it. When the millennials were being very maligned, let's just say 10 years ago or 15 years ago, they don't want to work, whatever.
Yeah.
I actually would go to my colleagues. I would say to my colleagues, well, whose fault is that? They're our kids, and,
Right.
and it's about understanding they work. They're very smart. You know, these kids coming up, whether it's millennial or Gen Y, Gen Z, they're really smart. And they want to work hard, but they want to feel like they're part of something, one, that has purpose, and two, that they want to be on a team that's strong, right? And they don't really care if it's all their age or whatever. They'll pick up, they'll connect to the baby boomer, they'll connect to the Gen Xer, as long as they feel they are an equal partner, that they are their equivalent in some way, and that they can learn from them, and they also can depend on them. And you know, in our company, we have a very young workforce. We have, you know, I think our average age on the floor is about 32 years old.
Awesome.
But you know, you have guys. I'm pushing 60. That we have a number of people in the company that are like even in their 60s, and the camaraderie and the ability to work together of those groups is really, it's wonderful when you see it happen. And so I think it's really just what you're talking about. It's the intentionality of the culture. We talk about things every single week, all hands meetings. We bring everybody together every Monday at 8 o'clock to discuss some behaviors that we have that make our culture what it is. And by talking about these things, eliciting responses and thoughts from our employees in that way, we develop a vocabulary. We develop this is the way we do things, and it's not the way John does things. It's the way the company does it. It's the way, because I think people feel empowered that they're a part of this and they can have an influence on the company. So it's how we do it, not how the ownership does it.
Absolutely. Well, when I was stalking you, I read that you were an avid runner.
I am.
And there is something to be said about the willingness to go the distance. And I don't just think that that is in your health and fitness, but I think that that is in the recognition of how collaborative you have to be. And I think that that starts with recognizing the value of your staff members at every level. You seem very intentional about how you cultivate environments for them to share. You seem intentional about empowering all of your staff, male, female, diverse teams. How is it that you maintain that mindset in a time when it may not be appreciated, or even it may not even be considered necessary for some? How do you maintain your focus and keep that marathon spirit even within the workplace?
Wow, you're kind of pulling that running into my work.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I feel like, okay, so running, I enjoy it. It's actually, for me, a cathartic event. It keeps me sane.
Yes.
Right, it's a sanity move for me.
Yes.
So it's a chance to blow off some steam and get down to some core beliefs, core thoughts about how to address situations. I do my best processing when I'm running, and this, I'll tie this back around because oftentimes, as a leader of a company, a lot of the processing you're doing is around people.
Yes.
You know, it's around how, you know, I have an issue here, and it's around a person. You know, are they in the right spot? Are they underperforming? Are they, you know, and I take it as a personal commitment, it's my job to make sure they're in the right place, right, for them. And again, Amy and I were talking this morning about this, that I think everybody, all of us, have kind of like, you know, that superpower, right? What are the things that we're really good at doing?
Absolutely.
And you can't be great at everything. And understanding your people at a level to where you understand what they can bring, and then helping them remove the barriers that are in their own mind, that are preventing them from engaging at that next level, in the role in which they are placed, is what I love to do, right? Those are the best conversations I have. That's the most fun I have, is sitting down and having those conversations with our folks about how to get out of their own way, right? And sometimes it means that they're not in the right seat, and that's fine. We want to get them in the right seat. But a lot of times, it's I know they have the capability, they are in the right place, but they have something holding them back. And it's about trying to elicit something that I can see in them, but maybe they don't see in them.
Okay, well, listen, I could talk to you for hours, okay? So I want to try to get as much in as I possibly can in the small time block that we have. And the thing that stands out to me is we talked about intention. We talked about cultivating environments for your staff to shine in areas where they do best.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that really stood out to me is leading with compassion, right? That's something
Yeah.
I'm very, very passionate about, but at the same time, recognize that it's not always easy to get everyone to do that at every level. How do you implement your feeling for people? Because it's been a challenge for me. How do you get even your management team to buy into leading with compassion and kind of fostering an environment where they feel like it's necessary?
Yeah, leading with compassion, leading with empathy
Yeah.
it's a leadership style, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a great question. For that particular focus, I really believe it's leading by example. There
Absolutely.
very little words words, can be all talk.
Yeah.
And too many leaders, too many of my colleagues, I see, they talk about having compassion, they talk about leading with empathy,
Yeah.
and they do something that is directly in conflict
Yeah.
with that. I believe that I and my business partner, Eric, that's where we come from, right?
Yeah.
We come from a place that we only want to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think modeling that for our leadership team,
Yes.
day in, day out, where you're showing the compassion, you're showing the empathy for them on an ongoing basis, I think that goes further than anything
Absolutely.
with regard to eliciting that from them
Yeah.
to have it flow down and cascade through the
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
It is difficult. It's difficult to have that filter all the way down to every part of the shop floor. But I think that's where, when something I mentioned before, we have our all hands meetings on a Monday morning. We
Yeah.
talk about these things. We talk about inspiring passion. We talk about earning respect. We talk
Yeah.
about acting boldly and with conviction. And by talking about those things, modeling those things,
Yes.
I think most people within the company, not all, but I think most people within the company get to a point where they understand that they are part of something a little bit different, and that they are empowered to, and actually not just empowered to, but have the obligation
Yeah.
to, while they're at work at least, support those actions and have those behaviors. So
Absolutely.
I think it all ties together. There's multiple aspects,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and leading by example is one of those fundamentals.
Yeah.
It's
Well, John, I have to wrap our interview up, but the one thing I wanted to do is see if you could just think in your mental Rolodex of a word that you think is describing where KMM is going in the future, what you want to be remembered for, and leave that with us today.
wow, a word.
You can have two if you want. A phrase, a quote,
Yeah,
anything
no,
that could sum it up.
What I would like to see, and we're not fully, we're on the road, we're on the
Yeah.
pathway to, but I would like to see us be a transformational company where it is, we are transforming ourselves, but also helping others do that, helping the industry transform, helping that next great medical device get to market,
Yeah.
and applying what we've learned over, and this is about, that MD&M is 40 years old, and
Yeah.
we've been around a really long time, but applying all of those experiences
Yes.
and taking it into the future to help the industry and help the country, transform into something that is sustainable for a really long period of time and continue evolving.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, listen, I am blown away. I'm in awe of your
Well,
of
thank
your intention at compassion, because I know that that is a rarity, and you shouldn't speed past it either. It is not everywhere, but it's definitely appreciated and necessary for not just where you are going, not just where KMM is going, but where manufacturing is going. And I am just so immensely honored that you allowed me to interview you today. I truly appreciate you taking your time. And thank you so much for coming and joining us. And I hope that you will come back for a couple of brews later.
I would love to, and
Yes.
I appreciate the time you spent with me. And it's
Absolutely.
not often that we find, the people that are really just
Yeah.
juiced about manufacturing.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
I just mirror the passion that I'm seeing in you.
Oh,
So thank you.
You're amazing. Awesome. Well, next we're going to go ahead and cut over to Tony and see what he's doing. And we're going to talk about some buzzwords. Stay tuned.